Red cards, big scorelines and controversy. We've got a lot to talk over in today's video. Let's go. So guys, welcome back to another episode of the Championship Roundup. As always at the moment, this video will be split into two parts. The first half of the video, I'm going to be going over all of this weekend's action, and in the second half of the video, we're going to be going over my midweek championship score prediction. So if you want to get involved with the prediction league, all you need to do is leave your score predictions in the comments down below. Before we do hop into anything though, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, you can find the new OneFootball app in the top line of the description down below, as we do have all this football going on at the moment. If you want a place to stay updated with everything that is going on in the Championship and around the footballing world in general, OneFootball is a place to do that. We've got the January transfer window, which is right around the corner at the moment, so it's a handy place to stay updated with transfer rumours going on around the Championship, and your club will be bringing back the transfer rumour roundup soon. But if you want to get a head start on all of that, OneFootball is the place to be, so check it out down below. And if you guys want to get yourselves involved in the prediction league, all you need to do is leave your score predictions for the midweek games in the comments down below. As you can see to the side of me, it is G-Best FC who's currently leading the way for the prediction league, with myself currently sat fourth in the table. We don't have the updated standings of the table as of yet, but don't worry, we'll get them ready for next time. And fair play to all you guys who did get a score prediction correct this weekend. Don't you worry, we'll get you mentioned out in the next one. But without any further ado, let's hop into this one. And so we'll start out with the South Wales derby, where there was really only one side that turned up to this one. And I think that this was quite a statement from Swansea, considering the form that Cardiff were coming into this game with. I really expected more of a battle from this game, but Cardiff really let their levels drop and Swansea absolutely walked their way through this game. Now, after 6 minutes, it was Jamal Lowe who opened the scoring. I've been a little bit mixed on what I've made of Jamal Lowe so far this season. To me, he always seemed a bit like sort of a winger who's been playing up front. I think that his positional sense has been very good. His movement off the ball, really good, gets into some really good areas. It's just his finishing at times hasn't always been completely up to scratch of what you'd expect from a striker, but he bagged the brace in this game. The first goal, I think that Alex Smithies probably should do better with. He, like a lot of other Cardiff players, just weren't at like their usual selves today. It was a bit of a fumbled one, which ends up going over the line, but nevertheless, Swansea continue their dominance after that game. Matt Grimes nearly scores an absolute worldie, but Alex Smithies does well to tip that one onto the post. But for the vast majority of the afternoon, it was sloppy play from this Cardiff squad, which was probably epitomised by that silly red card for Joe Ralls. Obviously on a yellow card, goes in for a bit of a reckless challenge when he takes a bit of a dodgy touch. And then, I mean, the second goal that Swansea score is just pure quality. The cheek of this finish on the outside of his foot from Jamal Lowe is just such a cool and composed finish. It was an absolutely wonderfully worked goal, and I think that, like I say, this game really sends out a statement for Swansea that they are serious challengers in and around the top of the Championship this season. I think that what makes the league so interesting is no side this season is perfect, and if Swansea do manage to add a little bit more depth in January, I think they'll be set up really well for a successful season. So really positive signs from Swansea. Cardiff really let themselves down in this one. Next up, we head to St Andrews as Watford claimed their second away win of the season, beating Birmingham by 1-0. Now, for the vast majority of the 90 minutes, there didn't seem to be all too much in this game. Birmingham defensively shaped up quite well, limited Watford to quite a few half chances here and there. Troy Deeney popped up in a couple of dangerous areas, but apart from that, it wasn't as fluid from Watford as we've seen them so far this season. But like in a lot of their away matches, fine margins in the end are the ultimate factor for deciding the result. Birmingham probably thought they'd done enough to grind out the draw from this one, but they give away a penalty in the 85th minute. Now, the controversial point from this penalty was it did look pretty soft. If you watch it from behind the goal, it does look like Pedersen does get a touch of the ball. However, defensively from Pedersen to actually put himself in that position was poor from him. He gets absolutely rinsed down that left-hand side. He has a standing start on the Watford defender, and it's like he's running on a treadmill. He's so slow to get back into position. Ultimately, he goes to ground. Then, you know, as soon as a defender goes down the box, the attacker's always going to see that as a chance to go down. Watford get the penalty, and Troy Deeney absolutely smashes it. It was very similar to his penalty against North End. Goalkeepers don't stand much of a chance of saving that one with the power he strikes it with, but good 3 points for Watford in that one. For Birmingham, frustrating result given all the circumstances. Next up, we go to Ewood Park as Norwich continue their impressive run and stay top of the Championship on 37 points. The scariest thing about this Norwich side at the moment is considering they've got all these players to come back into the starting 11, and even without them, they're looking like a really strong outfit for the Championship. Timu Pukki stealing the headlines. That's now 50 goals he's got in 100 Norwich appearances, which is an absolutely outstanding record. But between these two sides, it was a really enthralling game. Both sides had chances in this one. one. Blackburn early on had a fantastic chance. I think it was Sam Gallagher headed from a corner, but Michael McGovern makes an absolutely wonderful reflex save, of course. He's the man filling in for Tim Krul, who's out injured at the moment, but it was eventually Norwich who took the lead in this one. A really classy finish from Teemu Pukki, the touch swivel, and then finishing at the near post. Absolutely clinical from Pukki, and how many times we've seen him do similar things like that in the Championship so far. Blackburn do get back into proceedings in the second half though. It was a lovely solo goal by Harvey Elliott, who's just continuing to show his class in this Blackburn side at the moment, isn't he? But Blackburn being back into the game was only going to last for a matter of minutes before Norwich retake the lead again. There was a bit of fortune in it maybe. It was Emi Buendia who initially had the shot from outside the box. It gets a nick on Teemu Pukki to take it away from the goalkeeper, who's wrong-footed. But when you are creating chance after chance, those sorts of things are going to fall for you more often than not, aren't they? Apart from the 3 goals we saw from each side, you know, both of them had several more chances. You know, Pukki hit the crossbar, Sam Gallagher hit the crossbar. But for Norwich, what's not to like at the moment? Top of the table, really impressive away record. That's now 18 games played and 37 points. But the side that's right on their heels at the moment is Bournemouth, who absolutely annihilated Huddersfield 5-0 this weekend. Now, we'll touch on Huddersfield in just a second, but this was a really impressive showing from this Bournemouth side, who do look like the real deal in the Championship this season, I think you have to say. We just touched on it there, the partnership that Emi Buendia and Teemu Pukki have. It's one of the best in the league. For Bournemouth though, Dom Solanke and David Brooks, that partnership between those two is right up there. The third goal that Bournemouth scored, really high quality stuff. Lovely layoff from Solanke onto David Brooks on the edge, and then that left foot, which is so dangerous, just beautifully glides it into the top corner. But past that, I mean, Huddersfield's defending in the second half was absolutely abysmal. I'll give credit to the Stanislas goal because he shows a bit of a, you know, imagination, invention to just run at the Huddersfield defenders, but they just stood off him. It was like he was walking around statues in the end, but credit to him, you know, the final few touches he jinxed his way in and out of a couple of players was really nice, but Huddersfield were absolutely woeful at the back. I think that, you know, by the time they got into the second half, they'd just given up defensively, hadn't they? And then Sam Sturridge wraps things up, getting Bournemouth's 5th of the game. Huddersfield, they were forced into a few changes for this one. We did mention on the preview, would their injuries catch up with them? And in a game like this, playing a high quality side like Bournemouth, it was men against boys. We'll wait and see how these injuries affect Huddersfield long term, because in this one, they fell well short of what we've seen they're capable of this season. But for Bournemouth, really impressive stuff, and that's only going to breed more confidence for them. Then from a 5-goal thriller to a goalless draw that was played out between Derby and Stoke. Now, Derby will have probably seen this one as a bit of a missed opportunity, to be completely honest, with the amount of chances they created in this one, and high quality chances as well. Stoke are another side quite similar to Huddersfield, where you feel like injuries have caught up with them, so they'll probably take the point from this one and move on. What's most frustrating for Stoke though is the news about Tyrese Campbell. We spoke about his injury on Friday's preview video, but it's now been confirmed that he's likely to miss the rest of the season, which is an absolutely devastating blow for this Stoke squad. You know, undoubtedly their most exciting player going forward. This was seeming to be his real breakthrough year, where he was the main man for Stoke, so to be without his creativity and goals for the whole season, it's going to be a test for Stoke from now on. And I think that this part of December, this sort of real grind period, is going to make or break teams. You know, we've seen a lot of teams at the moment accumulating with injuries, so it's going to be a tough run. But like I say, Derby, they did have some really high quality chances. Tom Lawrence fancied himself from a couple from outside the box. Cullen Kazim-Richards when he took the ball around the goalkeeper, but James Chester gets back in the nick of time to just about clear it off the line with a wonderful goal line clearance. But Stoke themselves didn't have all too much going forward, so like I said, they'll probably take the point from this one. Derby also had a penalty shout which was turned away as well. They're just not quite getting that look from referees at the moment, but overall, like I said, Derby, they probably did do enough to win this match. They just couldn't find that goal for anywhere. Joe Bursick, I think, played quite well for Stoke actually in net for them. And next up we then go to Luton Town 3, Preston North End 0. Now, Preston have been erratic this season so far, but even I didn't see something like this coming on the back of such a positive performance in midweek. 3-0 we beat Middlesbrough. It was the same team going into this game. Our performance levels, we completely fell off a cliff for this one, but I'm going to give a lot of credit to Luton here because I thought that they were absolutely terrific for this one. After North End had a pretty decent chance for Jayden Stockley, Luton completely took over like that. Their midfield especially played at 100 miles an hour for the whole 90 minutes for this one. Drewsbury Hall, Glenn Ray and Rutherham Panzu absolutely outbattled us in the midfield, and we couldn't string 2 passes together. It was an absolutely abysmal performance from North End, who I didn't think we could get much worse than the Blackburn performance, and even then we had the excuse of getting a red card and, you know, having to play with 10 men for the majority of the second half. With the game against Luton, that wasn't the case. They were absolutely all over us, and some of their goals had real quality as well. I mean, defensively from a North End point of view, It's getting to that stage now where it is a real worry. Currently North End have conceded more goals than any other Championship side. The first goal, lovely ball in from Mpanzu, who puts it into a real danger area. Paul Huntington completely misjudges the flight of the ball. Collins takes it well. The second goal, I think it's Fisher who's out of battle for the ball. The third one's a poor clearance from Jordan Storey, and actually a really good finish by Collins, who then completes his hat-trick. But for Luton, probably one of the best sides we've played so far this season. They absolutely wiped the floor with us. I was absolutely blown away by the levels of commitment by both sides in this one, because North End fell well short of what we're capable of, and it was an embarrassing performance in the end. It really was. But for Luton, full credit to them, they were fantastic. After that, we then had Middlesbrough beating Millwall by 3-0. That now extends Millwall's winless run to 10 matches. There really needs to be some sort of rethink there. You know, in all the times that Millwall have been under this winless run, they've at least had a solid defensive foundation in the majority of the matches so far. That couldn't be said in this one, and this result for Middlesbrough was just what they needed, and is a reason why the Championship's just so unpredictable. You know, they lost 3-0 in midweek, they then follow up with a 3-0 victory themselves. Duncan Watmore with a brace in this one, really impressive stuff for him, gets into some really good goal scoring positions, but the pick of the goals had to go for having a lovely finish from the right hand side. Picks out the bottom corner brilliantly and just finesses it past the goalkeeper. Defensively, it was really shoddy stuff from Millwall, but Middlesbrough completely controlled this one. Midfielders Judge Seville and Sam Morsey both really good in there. For Millwall, I'm really not sure what the answer is for them at the moment. The next 4 games see them going up against Bristol City, Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth and Watford. How many points do I see them picking up from those games? I'm really not so sure with the way they're going at the moment. Next up, we then had Forest falling to another defeat, this time at the hands of Brentford. They walked away with all 3 points, beating them by 3-1. Now, defensively, Nottingham Forest gave themselves absolutely no chance from this game. Figueiredo had a game to forget. He lost his man for the first goal, Henrik Dalsgaard, and the third goal, oh my god, the less said about that one, the better. It was Sunday League stuff from Forest defensively, just a route one ball up from Brentford, which caught them out. But nevertheless, Brentford deservedly walked away with all 3 points for this one. The pick of the goals came from De Silva, really nice finish with his left foot bending it in. Forest had a few more moments for themselves going forward, but when you defend like they did in this game, they just gave themselves absolutely no hope. Now, one of the talking points was the knockout red card. Obviously, he did get the assist for the Joe Worrell goal, had a goal ruled out for himself as well, but he was sent off for a dive in the last minutes of this game. Now, it's a little bit of a debatable one, really. I think that knockout does have that sort of reputation about him, which probably played into the referee's mind a little bit with this decision. I mean, to be honest, going forward, Knockout was probably one of the few players who deserved a few plaudits for Nottingham Forest, at least trying to make things happen for them, but obviously now he's going to be missing their next game through suspension. Brentford, though, got the job done. An impressive showing from them sees them moving into the top 6. Now, for Forest, the month of December is going to be absolutely massive for their season, and if I look at their fixtures now, they've got some winnable games coming up, so this next few couple of games are going to be make or break for Forest season. Next up, they got games against Sheffield Wednesday, Millwall, Birmingham, Stoke and Preston. We need to be seeing Forest getting at least a couple of wins from those games, or else you really do fear for them. And next up, we then had Reading beating QPR by 1-0 thanks to Elise's last minute winner. It was an absolutely superb finish, but we'll get to that in just a second. Now, for a lot of the game, QPR's most lively player, like he has been throughout the season so far, probably was Chair. If anyone was going to conjure up something from the home side, it was going to come through him. He went close on a couple of occasions, and had any of those chances gone in, it might have been a different game come the end of it. But Elise off the bench comes up with the game's real moment of quality. It's actually a lovely work goal, nice back heel from McIntyre, and then the goal from Elise takes it on his left foot from about 20-25 yards out, bends it beautifully into the far post, and I mean, he's adding, you know, millions upon millions more to his price tag with every performance he comes up with at the moment, isn't he? Reading have got a real star on their hands here. He was fantastic. His impact off the bench, Ajaria looked like a real live wire for the away side as well, and credit to Reading, you know, this wasn't them at full strength. They did go with Bollock and Aluko, like we have mentioned in the preview, in the absence of Yakumeti and Lucas João. The result leaves them 5th in the table, and they are starting to cement that place in the top 6. It is still very close in and around the top of the table at the moment, but there are a couple of sides who are just starting to pull away from those sides in mid-table. But for QPR, they really don't find themselves on a good run of form at the moment. I saw a tweet the other day, QPR have won just 3 of their last 17 matches now. They're sitting 19th in the table, and they're probably being saved from really being dragged into a relegation battle at the moment by the fact that there are some Championship clubs who are seriously underperforming this season, the likes of Derby and Forest. So for QPR, there are definitely some areas for concern. Next up, we then have had Rotherham beating Bristol City by 2-0, a game where Bristol City's injury list seemingly caught up with them. They were well below par in this one and allowed Rotherham to really play their game. Now, Rotherham have been a little bit of a hot and cold side throughout the season so far. We've seen a handful of really good performances from them so far. You know, games they had against the likes of Preston and Bournemouth really stood out, and this one against Bristol City was absolutely fantastic. Like I say though, Bristol City in a couple of occasions allowed Rotherham to play their type of football and really get into dangerous positions. Dan Barley's was absolutely fantastic in the middle. He got the assist for the first goal. Ola Sunday down that right hand side for Rotherham was absolutely brilliant, but the defending for that second goal, they allowed him so much space on that right hand side to line up his cross. Eventually the ball gets into the middle into Smith, who was a real handful for the Bristol City backline. Bentley probably can do a little bit better with that one, but with him being one of the Bristol City's best players so far this season, I'll let him off with the odd mistake here and there. And actually the defending for it was quite weak actually. But like I say, with Bristol City in their current injury list, they were missing someone like a Jamie Patterson to try and make something happen for them. Naki Wells, who was shoved that wide, didn't seem to get all too involved in proceedings. And for Rotherham, it was a really good showing and a massive 3 points. Then next up we go to Hillsborough in what could be a really damning defeat for Sheffield Wednesday, especially in the manner of which they lost this match. They took the lead after 4 minutes. It was Barry Bannon with a long ball that was hooked forward. Barnsley made a bit of a calamity about this goal really. The goalkeeper comes out, Windass gets a touch to take it around him, makes it 1-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. From that point onwards, Wednesday need to see out this game so much better than they actually did. It was a poor goal to concede to get Barnsley back into it. Joe Wildsmith's poor for it though. He flaps at the corner, parries the ball into Corley Woodrow's path, who taps it in to make it 1-1. I've been quite kind to Joe Wildsmith so far this season. I thought he's had a couple of decent games for Wednesday for me so far this season, but here today he was poor. And actually the goal that seals it for Barnsley is actually really well worked. Nice bit of interplay, lovely assist from Chaplin over the top. If there was an assist of the week, then Chaplin would definitely get that into the path of Freezer, who then finishes it to make it 2 for Barnsley. And the result for Sheffield Wednesday leaves them bottom of the table, 9 points, 4 from safety. Now, I can't stress enough how big the game is in midweek, both for Sheffield Wednesday and for Nottingham Forest, of course. Last season for Sheffield Wednesday at Forest, it was a wonderful performance, 4-0 Jordan Rhodes hat-trick. They need some of the same magic in that game in midweek, because I don't think Sheffield Wednesday should look to sit back in that game. They need to go for it. It needs to be a must-win. We've seen throughout the season so far how many goals Forest are leaking at the moment. Wednesday need to put that back line under pressure, and if they go to Forest, play defensively, sit back, they'll probably get what's coming to them, and that's going to be another defeat. So I'm very interested to see how Tony Pulis approaches that game against Forest in midweek, because for both sides it's looking like a must win. And then for the last game of the weekend, we then had Wycombe 1, Coventry 2, so a big 3 points for the away side in this one. Wycombe would have been quite disappointed not to get anything considering their level of performance. Now for Wycombe, structurally I think they set up to be quite a good side in the Championship actually. What's ended up costing them in probably one too many games so far this season has just been individual errors. It was the same in the Preston game, where I thought, you know, I gave them a lot of plaudits for that one. 2 defensive mistakes though meant they dropped points. And in this game it was quite a similar occurrence. Listen, the first goal from Kelly, it was a lovely finish from outside the box. He absolutely thumps it, doesn't he, to glide it into the bottom corner. But it was Patterson who gave the ball away quite cheaply in midfield for Wycombe. And the second goal, they ultimately failed to deal with that set piece that comes into the box. But for the second half, Wycombe really gave it a good go. Jacobson gets them back into it with a penalty. They have several really high quality chances to get back into it. Onyedema has one that goes over the bar, and they think they've got back into it. Scott Kashket with the equaliser. However, the offside flag goes up. Now the replay that I've seen of it, it's very hard to tell if he is or not. If any of you guys have seen a more conclusive angle of that offside decision, then let me know about it in the comments down below. But from what I saw, it was a very close one, that's all I'll say. And obviously in the end, Coventry do enough to hold on for all 3 points. Another thing I wanted to quickly mention on was Gustavo Hamer nearly scoring the absolute goal of the season. He sees Allsop off his line and tries to chip him from the halfway line. That's the sort of confidence and swagger like someone like Gustavo Hamer plays with. But yeah, that would have been an absolute worldie if it had gone in. But nevertheless, big 3 points for Coventry there. Wycombe maybe got a little bit unlucky really. But guys, there were all the results that went on this weekend in the Championship. So as always, do get your thoughts in the comments down below as to what you made of your team's performance. In terms of my results of the weekend, a lot of big ones this weekend. I think I'm going to give it to Rotherham. You know, I think that 3 points against Bristol City could be absolutely pivotal in keeping them ticking along nicely nicely and just above the relegation zone. Then for my goal of the weekend, a lot of contenders for this one. If you guys want to vote on it, head on over to the community tab of the channel. For me, I think I'm going to give it to Jamal Lowe. It was such a cheeky finish for his second goal against Cardiff. Outside of the foot, it was wonderful technique. But that's what I made of all the games that went on in midweek. Now, without any further ado, let's hop into my midweek predictions. And so if you want to get involved with the prediction league, all you need to do is leave your score predictions in the comments down below. So heading into them, we got QPR heading up against Stoke. Now, tough game to predict in the current circumstances. QPR on a great run of form at the moment, but with the injury list that Stoke have, it's not a team who's at 100% at the moment. And I think that if Stoke manage to get into January, still being in touching distance of the top 6, they'll probably take that. I'm going to set on the fence for this one. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to say they'll level each other out and it'll finish 1-1. Barnsley against Preston, I just don't know at the moment with Preston. If I predict us to lose, we'll probably win. If I predict us to win, we'll probably lose. We are by far the most unpredictable side in the Championship at the moment. Our form's absolutely all over the place, so your guess is as good as mine for this one. What I will say is Barnsley look really good after falling behind against Sheffield Wednesday. Some nice goals scored. I think that they'll work our defence going forward in this one. I expect a reaction from Preston after that shoddy performance at the weekend. I'm going to go for like a thrilling 2-2 draw or something. I think it's two quite energetic sides going up each other there. Bournemouth up against Wycombe. Bournemouth looked absolutely ruthless against Huddersfield, and I think that if Wycombe make some of the individual mistakes at the back that they have been making throughout the season so far, Bournemouth will be one of those sides who will punish them. I'm going to go 3-0 Bournemouth in that game. Bristol City up against Millwall. This is a good opportunity for Bristol City to get back to winning ways after a pretty poor performance over the weekend against Rotherham. Millwall aren't playing well at the moment. It was a really shocking performance over the weekend. They still lack goals going forward. I'm going to go 1-0 Bristol City in that game. Probably the biggest game we've got coming up this weekend though sees Forest going up against Sheffield Wednesday. Seemingly what is a must win for both sides at this point in time. It's definitely a must not lose. This is very much dependent on how Sheffield Wednesday go about setting up for this game. If they take the game to Forest, I think they've got a real opportunity. If they sit back off them and look to just counter them though, I think they could be in trouble. Forest have got a little bit more going forward for me. I'm just going to say 1-0 Forest. I think whoever scores first in that game probably goes on to win it. Watford up against Brentford. Watford have been very good at home so far this season, scoring a lot of goals. Brentford, though, on a very good run for themselves at the moment. Just going to edge the home side in that one. It's two quite unpredictable sides, so it should be a good game, but just going to go Watford for a 2-1 home victory. Into Wednesday's fixtures, we then got Derby going up against Swansea. Derby have been able to put together a decent unbeaten run. What they do need to do is start turning some of these draws into wins if they want to pull away from the bottom 3. Swansea on a fantastic run for themselves at the moment. They probably have ambitions to be aiming towards the top 2 with the way they're playing. They'll took a big confidence boost from that game of the weekend, but Derby have been a tough nut to crack lately. I'm going to go for a draw in that one, so it'll finish 1-1. Cardiff up against Birmingham. Cardiff I thought were really shoddy. They need a performance in midweek to bounce back from that game, but Birmingham can be a bit of a tricky customer, especially away from home when they have picked up a couple of decent results so far. I'm actually going to back Birmingham in that one. Going to go 1-0 to the away side. Middlesbrough against Luton's quite an interesting one. Both sides were fantastic over the weekend. Both teams winning by 3-0, which probably means this game's not going to have as many goals, doesn't it? I'm going to say they'll level each other out and go for a 1-1 draw. Two quite different styles, but like I say, both with really good performances over the weekend. Blackburn up against Rotherham. Blackburn are just falling short of keeping up with the top 6 at the moment without a win now in their last 3 matches. They'll be seeing this as a real opportunity to get back to winning ways, albeit against Rotherham side who I thought played very well at the weekend. I'm going to back Blackburn for this one though. I'm going to go 2-1 to the home side. Coventry up against Huddersfield. Huddersfield defensively were an absolute shambles against Bournemouth. And I think that if Coventry play with the same sort of flair we've seen of them going forward lately, I think they'll probably win this match. I'm going to go 2-1 to the home side. And then to finish things off with a very interesting match, we've got Reading going up against Norwich. This will be a real test for Norwich's potential credentials for making the top 2 this season if they can get a result here. Now obviously it's not a fully strength Reading side at this point in time, but nevertheless I think they will give a good account of themselves in this sort of performance. But Norwich are just getting through matches at this point in time, aren't they? They got a whole bunch of quality going forward, and I probably just edged them for this game. I'm going to go 2-1 Norwich, but like I say, that one should be a good watch. But as you can see on screen to the side of me, that's what I'm fancying for the midweek fixtures. So like I say, if you do want to get involved with the prediction league, leave your comments in the comments down below. But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. So if you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure to subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.